In your new book, Thrive, you talk about the need to redefine success beyond money, beyond power, to create a third metric of success. Describe that phenomenon.
Well, for me, it started with my own wake-up call when it was kind of a rude awakening on April 6, 2007, when I collapsed from exhaustion. On the way down, hit my head on my desk, broke my cheekbone, got 4 stitches on my right eye. And then, as I was going from doctor to doctor, they were trying to find out what was really wrong with me, if I had a brain tumor. In all these doctors' waiting rooms, I found myself asking these big questions, like, what is a good life? What is success? But by any sane definition of success, I was not successful if I was lying in a pool of blood on the floor of my office. And that's what started me to look around beyond my own life, at my friends' lives, my colleagues' lives, and seeing how many of us were really fueled by burnout, sleep deprivation, exhaustion. And we thought that this was a normal way to live if you wanted to succeed and get to the top, whatever that was for each one of us. And that's what started me on this journey of both changing my own life and wanting to help us all redefine what success is. And obviously, the 2 metrics of money, power, fame are always going to be part of life. But what I'm saying in the book is that we need to incorporate a third metric that consists of 4 pillars: well-being, wisdom, wonder, and giving.
You already achieved a great deal of success, albeit maybe more traditional success, as you put in your book, by the time that you had this turning point. Do you think you could have achieved what you've achieved if you took a markedly different approach? What things would have looked different for you?
Well, I don't know if I would have achieved more, but I would have achieved what I achieved with less stress, less of a toll on my health, my relationships. I mean, absolutely, without question. I would have made fewer mistakes, because when I look back at all the mistakes I made, whether it was hiring mistakes or overreacting mistakes, they were all because I was stressed and exhausted. And I quote Bill Clinton in my book, saying all the mistakes I made in my life were because I was exhausted. He did not specify what mistakes, but the point is that when we look back on our lives, it's when we are exhausted and burned out that we miss the kind of red flags, that we don't see the icebergs before they hit the Titanic, and we also miss opportunities.
What advice or what suggestions would you give to those people who say that it's almost a luxury to be able to meditate or lead this more mindful life?
Incidentally, when we talk about meditation, you can substitute whatever you want: prayer, contemplation, fly fishing, whatever it is in one's life that provides that respite, that time to disconnect and reconnect with ourselves. That's a very legitimate question. And that's why in the book I have a lot of examples from people's lives in extreme circumstances, including in concentration camps. It doesn't get more extreme than that. But people like Viktor Frankl, who are able, even in a concentration camp, to connect to their own center of wisdom and strength and peace, were able to deal with these extreme, painful circumstances in a much more powerful and centered way. So whatever our circumstances, whether we're struggling to put food on the table, or we are a CEO with multiple demands on his or her time, I believe that when we learn to take time to reconnect with ourselves and our own wisdom, we're going to be more resilient and more effective at what we're doing.
You talk about your experiences with your daughters who are still young, who also had burnout and faced stress in this hyper-connected world. How has this experience of this awakening changed you as a mother? And what advice are you giving to them now so that they can avoid some of the pitfalls that you experienced?
Yes, I wanted the book to be very personal because it's a very personal topic for all of us. As a mother, I with my daughter's permission, I talked about the fact that she got involved in drugs in her last year at Yale, and what we went through as a family. She just celebrated 2 years being sober, and she wanted to tell her story to help other young women and men. Again, what stress does to millennials and the way it often leads them to drugs or binge drinking or all the things that we're seeing in colleges. And I feel there is an epidemic going on and we need to address it. As a mother, when I got the call that every mother dreads, mommy, I can't breathe, and that seemingly endless drive to New Haven, to the emergency room, I feel that the work I had done on myself made it possible for me to deal with this in a way that was more centered and had more clarity about next steps. And the fact that I could focus on what I was grateful to, even in the middle of a family crisis, that I was grateful that she was alive, that she wanted to get well, that she had a loving family around her to support her. So I wanted to talk about my own crisis, because we're all going through some crisis or another at one point in our lives, and to help other people go through their crisis.